Boom.
Ooh,
Boom.
What a
okay.
way to start with fireworks, my goodness.
Fireworks.
Welcome to the Ripple Effect by the Alliance. We are committed to raising the frequency of our planet. We'll discuss hot topics, share practical tools and sacred frequencies to reveal the magic in your life. Come laugh, cry, and have fun with us.
Welcome back, everybody. It feels like a lifetime.
That's
Yeah, welcome back. We're still the Ripple Effect Pod with the Alliance, Hannah, Station, myself. We've hinted recently that we have a reboot coming. We are very excited for that. It's coming up in a couple weeks. But we decided it was really important for us to come on and share because that's what we like to do. We like to share the process with you, why we decide to do things, what we're going through, the highs, the lows. Usually it's on the other end of it, which it is this time. We're so excited. We have a lot to share, but we wanted you all to know what we've been through, why we decided to do this. And I am going to hand it over to Stacia and her beautiful, eloquent ways
yeah.
to start and diving into why we wanted to do this.
Ooh. So, where to begin? We had some ideas, and I'm really proud of us. Let me say that first off. I'm really proud of us because we started this with really just this vision of what we wanted to do, and we had no idea what to do. We just started doing it. So, and here we are over 6 months later, which is really incredible. But we started really kind of taking a deeper dive into how we could really elevate this platform, for all of our listeners and for us as well, because we started learning as we were going what we could do maybe a little bit better, what we could do a little bit differently. And let me tell you, we have completely transformed this platform, and we are super excited. We're going to talk about some of the last few weeks ish that we've really been just like, what are we doing? Where are we going? How uncomfortable do we want to get? And here we are to let you know the progress we're making on this reboot that we're super excited to be sharing with you soon.
Yes. Yeah, I want to echo your thoughts on celebrating where we've come from. And again, I love that there's fireworks in the background where
Here they
Hannah
go.
is.
Let me put them back on. There they
Oh,
go.
mine,
There they
me too.
are. How
It's
fitting. See,
4th of July.
No. We arranged this. Remember, Stacia?
That's
That's
great.
oh yes,
Fireworks would be playing
it's
in the
for us.
background.
It's for us.
Yeah, it's perfect. But yes, we really, and we've talked about this before on the podcast, where we had an idea, we jumped in, and within 48 hours we had a podcast up and running, and we were sort of learning as we went along. I would say maybe about a month ago we took a really hard look, because we talked about, like, yeah, we can just keep going with the way things are, but we took a really hard look at, like, what do we want for us, what do we want for the listeners, where do we want to take this, and is it possible that we're maybe playing it a little small? And if so, and when we do that, when we say, okay, are we playing it small, we look at, okay, why are we doing that and how can we change it? Enter Hana.
Yeah, because so basically what we do ourselves is I've understood a long time ago that, and that's where I get my saying of by choice or by force, right? When the universe is prodding you to make changes or prodding you to go for your dreams. And we keep pressing the snooze button. I know I pressed the snooze button for years before I started working with the sound. I had this thing of go work with sound, and I'd be like, yeah, 5 minutes, 5 more minutes, 5 more minutes, 5 more minutes. And I kept pressing the snooze button until one day, the universe kind of just threw me in. And it gets to the point where if you don't, I believe that two things will happen. Either you take the ball and run with it, or you miss the opportunity. And I don't know how many times around people say, oh, the opportunity will come again. I don't think that opportunities ever come around in the same exact way, because so many things had to be arranged for these opportunities to happen that I don't think if they come around, I don't think they ever are the same again. And so I've learned to not wait and not press the snooze button when I get that calling or that feeling or that gut feeling or that idea in my head of, oh, do this or call this person or go this place or whatever it is. Or you get a brilliant idea of, oh, like the podcast, right? Where a month before we even came up with the idea, I said, well, on the summer solstice, we're gonna come up with something that we're gonna do together. And 10 days before the solstice, this happened. And it was like, oh my gosh. And then we realized, oh, we said we're gonna do something together, and it happened before even the date showed up. It just happened. We knew that it was the right thing. We all felt like, oh my God, we have to do this. And we did it in 2 days, 48 hours, very little sleep. We came up with a name. We loved our name. Then we found out that there was a very big podcast with the same name. And then we thought, well, but ours says pod.
Similar.
Well, yeah, they don't touch on the same subjects at all, but there's a podcast with that name. And then we found out that, there's many podcasts with the same name, and still, no, it doesn't matter. But it started mattering to us because we started getting comments from our listeners saying, you should have researched. There's another podcast with the same name. And I was like, thank you, but no, thank you, right?
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for helping us out.
I appreciate you listening.
Where were you in the 48 hours that we got this organized?
And we were freaking out to do this, right? And then we had a listener who wrote us a very detailed message that and I wish I had her name here right now. I don't have it, but we'll probably write it in the comments. But she took the time to say, something told me to listen. And when I did, I loved your podcast. Thank you so much. But I have to tell you, without meaning to, it was not criticism. It was just a comment saying she thought we talked about fashion and celebrity gossip from our illustration. That's what she got from our illustration that we were so proud about. And we loved it. It was a surprise from Sarah for us. I absolutely adore that illustration. And it was so fun. And we're like, oh my God, this is amazing. We love it. And we had our little avatar illustration and we thought this is fantastic. And then a month into it, we get this comment. And I was like, well, you guys, guess what? The bearer of great news. I read this comment. This lady said this. I hadn't said anything because I'd really been sleeping on it. But I believe that there's something telling me that she might be right. And somehow we're not in alignment fully.
Yeah, for me it felt like yeah, like a wake up call to be like, okay, let's take a look at this, because we kind of were going through the motions like, oh, it's good enough, this is good enough, we're getting the episodes out, because we have no issue coming up with episodes and talking and creating really good content within our episodes. But outside of that, I feel like it was like, oh, let's take a look at all this, right? And let's see, does this all mesh together? Is it making sense for everybody? Is it making sense for the audience? Is our message being conveyed in the way we want it to and even reaching people? Or is that creating some sort of barrier for people?
Yeah. And so, and then we looked at, we started doing research, market research, right? We started looking at other podcasts. I have an incredible daughter who has been, I call her, I named her today our godmother because she has been so supportive of us. And she will tell us if we're doing something that is just not working. And one of the things she told me, she's like, your posts, every episode you have your little thumbnail. So we kept using our little thumbnail and creating a post from it. But in our Instagram page, it looked like, she goes, look at your Instagram page. It looks the same, the same, the same, the same. And I was like, a little. Well, a little. Oh, great, thank you. And then she said, your page looks like a spam page from Instagram. I'm like, whatever do you mean, a spam page?
How dare you?
Jinx. And I'm like, how dare you say that? She's like, no, look at these pages that are selling you garbage stuff, and you just go and it's the same post. And I'm like, okay, well, it's time to speak up. It's time to get uncomfortable.
Yes.
Right? By choice or by force. So I'm like, well, we better do it by choice, because if we don't do it by choice, it's gonna be by force. Because I know that sooner or later the universe comes and calls on you. And we were getting the signs from everywhere. And Sarah, thank you for that. Jayanti, I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly. Jayanti, 2371. She's our person who gave us that comment, and I'm really,
And in a very
now,
kind, nice, delightful
Yeah,
way. Constructive
exactly.
criticism.
Right.
yeah.
She loved the episode.
She's like, I'm
But it
glad
was-
I found it, but I would have never, if I had just seen the illustration and that, I would have never listened to it.
Yeah.
And she said, I just wanted to let you know. And it was so kindly said that I really paid attention, because there's always trolls, and there's
Yeah.
always somebody that's not gonna like you. We've been lucky and blessed so far. And also, one of the things that I'm so proud of is that the content we put out is high value content
Yeah.
every single time. I mean, we look at every episode and we're like, we listen to it and we're like, oh yeah, oh, that's interesting. Oh, I like that. I when we edit the episodes, and I'm sorry about these fireworks, but I don't know if
I love it.
it's gonna
They're celebrating us, Hannah. They're celebrating
right.
us
That's right. It costs us so much money to
I
get
know. Across this country
across the country. We're getting celebrated, but
and Canada.
and in
One
Canada.
second.
But it was such a nice way of saying it, that between my daughter saying, okay, watch what you're doing, it looks very the same, it looks spammy, and the last thing we want is to look spammy when we're delivering such high content. So it really, there was a disconnect between the amazing value that we're delivering, according to us. Now, your audience have to tell us if that is so. But we've been so fortunate and so blessed to get these comments, and we've been open to listening. So we said, okay, well, we have two choices. We can just ignore these comments and keep going, and the heck with it, or we can do something about it. And being who we are, we decided to really do something about it. And boy, did we do it. Who wants to tell about the experience of going through it?
Well, first, let me thank Sarah, because she is incredible. This is her jam. And what we really were kind of missing was this system. We created all these systems now, this structure of, we just wanted to talk and provide value, but she really helped us, narrow it down into a more focused way. And I appreciate you so much. And I wanted to really give you a shout out, because we actually used some systems that she uses in her coaching business. So she was able to come in and really keep us on track and really keep us focused, so that we could see where we wanted to go and we didn't wander off from there. So I just wanted to say that.
Yeah. No, and then after we decided, even without changing the name or anything, when we got the comment about the spammy graphics, Sarah went into the drawing board and surprised us with the new graphics, and they were, we have gotten so many amazing responses from those graphics, and they were like, whoa, what happened? Like, all of a sudden this thing just popped out, and it was like, I think also Sarah felt a little challenged by that comment, and it was like somebody poking us, right?
I need that.
Poking our ego is like,
it's
what?
like, oh, okay, I can do better. I can
do, but yeah, you think it's spammy? Well, let me show you. And my God,
it sparks my creativity.
Did we up level with that one? And Sarah sent us these graphics, and we're like, I was just in awe. I was like, oh my God. And then my daughter was like, oh my God, Mom, that's what I mean. That's what I'm talking about. And it was such a great feeling. But
and then we checked, because
go ahead.
Here, we're not the best at checking our analytics, but we're getting better. And then we were like looking, we're like, oh wow, okay, so this did make a difference, right? So that was nice to see. And
that was amazing. So we could have, it could have, all we had to do was that at that point. We could have just stayed and said, okay, we're up leveling the graphics and we can continue. But no, because why would we? That would be too easy. And a lot of the things we do are simple, but sometimes they're hard.
Yeah. And we had several meetings. And it was funny that you talk about the structure thing, because I was saying to my mom, when was it? I don't know. It might have been, I can't remember when, but I said, oh, I have a meeting. I think it was yesterday before our other meeting. And then I said, yeah, the one day I had an agenda and like people are trying to skip ahead, and I had to get like, I feel like that person is like, okay, ladies, wait, let's have some. Okay, we're gonna go back to this item on the agenda.
Herding ducks.
But I'm like, I
say herding cats.
I've worked with lots of committees with like 10 people, 20 people. So, but yeah, it's good that we all have our strengths. I say these ladies are like poets when they speak. Not so much me, but I'll keep you organized. I'll keep you on track.
Well, that was one of the things that I said, let's bring our strengths and
okay. So and you know what? Because we move so quickly, I can't even freaking remember where everything landed and began, or where what thing came in when. But that was one of the things we did look at, like, okay, what would, aside from like renaming. That's a whole beast on its own that we're going to talk about. But just what we wanted to bring to the podcast, it was, well, one, we wanted to like not have our spammy graphics and make that feel more fun, and like people see our face as opposed to just like the title on things. And like really connect with us. And then the other thing was like where we're going and allowing people to get to know us better, because there is so much that we haven't shared with the audience, like things that I'm excel at, things that Stacia's excels at, things that Hannah excels at. Like we've just touched the surface of where we could take this. And for me, I'm like, wow, that's like a disservice to us, because we're not like really like fully living in our purpose by showcasing that within the podcast. And two, our audience is really missing out because there's so much more we could be sharing with them. Like Hannah, you haven't done any sound healing yet. I don't think we've gotten to like astrology. We haven't done any business craziness yet with me.
No
How to
crystals,
make an
no
agenda and
nothing.
follow it. No.
That's right.
But
But
you know
we
what I mean?
wanted
We
to
haven't
create,
really dived
right,
into that. And that was something you brought up, Hannah. And I was so happy that you did, because it was like, yeah, we haven't really. And that was one of the things we did want to do.
right, and also create a deeper connection with our audience, right? Because
Hands
it
down.
seemed like we were
Number
very
one.
removed, and now
Number one.
I feel that we're really
But in
just
order to.
energy shifted in the
Yes.
moment. You know, when we set the intention, when one sets an intention and is very clear on the intention, then you don't even have to say anything. The energy is already speaking for you ahead of you,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the moment we said, okay, we don't want spammy graphics, we don't want this, we want to connect to people. If our graphic is giving off these vibes of celebrity and gossip and fashion and all that, and then I show up, they're like, what? There's a total disconnect.
You are a celebrity.
But you know, and it's like, we must find our essence.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went through I said, Sarah, you know, you did this coaching that I was a part of. I was so lucky to be a part of. And I came up with a brilliant name for a program. And it was so easy with Sarah's process that I said, Sarah, why don't we use your process to go through this exercise? And she was like, what? And I'm like, why don't we use your process? And she was like, oh, okay. And I'm like, we just did it for my programs, let's do it for the podcast. And she's like, I guess it could work. And I'm like, oh my God, yes, it will work. It will work.
I
And
know.
boy, did it work, right, Stacia?
Wow.
I mean,
Yes.
gosh.
Yeah. And I love that you made the point of like, we got clear, and believe me, it wasn't like this 20-minute, oh, here we're clear. Like this was lots of talking.
Multiple meetings. Multiple.
Just brain
but we focused. We were focusing on certain aspects that we wanted to change. We wanted.
Yeah. And getting really clear about what that is and what we wanted. And I love that you said, Hannah, like that connection with our audience. And I think the way to do that was when we were like, okay, well, we need to showcase more of us for them to actually get to know us better and have a connection.
Right. And be more intentional every step of the way.
Mm-hmm.
And then the naming process started.
My God.
Oh my God. That got painful.
You know what? I never got to ring my bell that we have a new name, and I'm going to ring my bell.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to
Yes. Ring the bell.
because it was, that was Did you say painstaking or did I just feel that within?
It was
painstaking. I
it
said it
was.
was painful. Yes, it was
What made
painstaking.
it so difficult? So we wanted to make sure we didn't, we're like, if we're going to change our name, we want to be very connected to it. But we also don't want it to already exist because if we're doing that, we might as well just keep our name, right?
Keep on.
And we found out that you can find out if things are trademarked and whatnot. So you would be surprised. I have a list. There's a list. It's everywhere of every name we thought of was already taken multiple times. It was trademarked. There was some, it was so
Wasn't one done by Sharon? What's her name?
Sharon Osborne.
Osborne.
I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. The ripple effect is trademarked. So we're like, okay, so right now it's not an issue, but when we blow up, that might become an issue. So we're like, we need to, and we love the ripple effect. We all had this attachment to that and wanted to
Yes.
keep some form of that. And that really kind of pigeonholed us for a bit too, because we're like, what's our synonym for ripple, and how can we keep ripple in here, and will we keep ripple? Are we gonna keep ripple, or are we gonna change it to like wave or something that sounds like ripple?
Break out the thesaurus.
So it was a lot. It was a big process.
Yeah, we started getting irritated and attached
Yes.
And then
to different.
we have on standby with us right there. She's like, okay, let's stop. Here, I'll let you say what you did.
She
Well,
doesn't even
no,
remember what she did.
That's true.
You
She
guys
goes in
have to
another
say what
world.
I did because remember,
That's
I
true.
told you, you have to say it.
She
Well,
she recognized that she's like, we're attached to these names. We're attached to specific names. We're attached to a feeling around everything. So she did like a clearing for us, and she's like, we're gonna release attachment to the names, to anything it means. Like, it was liberating. It was very freeing.
Yes.
And it cleared our
Yes.
minds and got out all the junk, because we had said so many words. We were starting to repeat things, and we're like,
Right.
ripple this.
Right.
But we said that
Well,
20
and
minutes
it
ago.
just speaks volumes of how the process works. And
Mhm.
we were putting ourselves through something that we could put our audience through.
Yeah.
It was as simple as get grounded and then literally let yourself start to release things, because sometimes we don't even realize how much we're holding on, and we weren't, like, we were just like, oh,
No.
we want this to work so bad, and it's like nothing was fitting, so we had to let it all go. And that was a really incredible process. And then
That
she's like,
was-
I don't even know what I did.
Yes. But especially with 3 people too, right? Like,
Right.
so the
Right,
reason why when Hannah talked about like, oh, let's use your process, I'm like, okay, well, I normally do it for like naming programs, and it's one person. Now we're naming it like,
There's
this is
like,
a
it's a big
big
deal.
weight
I don't
on
know.
this. And there's 3 of us, because
Three
maybe
of us.
Hannah and I would like something, and Stacia would be like, meh. And then Stacia and I like something, and then Hannah would be like, no, it reminds me of this. Or I would say, no, it reminds me of being on your period.
Or we'd look it up and it's like, oh, there's like
There's
18.
so many, like,
Yeah.
Yeah, we
there's
finally
already-
come up with someone with a name, and we were all excited. And I felt like the entire time I was like, no.
oh yes, we should note that, because we, after one meeting, we sort of like settled on a name. We're like, this works, this sounds good.
Oh, it sounded really good.
It sounded
we
good,
loved it.
but I was
but-
like, let's sleep on it. And we all slept on it, and in the morning I was like, I really hope they all feel the same way I do, because I was like, I was not connected to it. I was just,
Nobody
was-
remembered the name.
Yeah,
I was
I
like,
didn't
I
remember.
couldn't remember the name. And I was like, if I cannot remember, I remembered one
What is
word.
the name?
And
Yeah.
I just was like, I am having a really big problem with this name because I cannot remember it. And if
And we like-
cannot remember it, then our audience is
Will
never going to
never
remember.
remember.
I mean, there's no way anybody's going to remember this name. It is not memorable. It doesn't mean anything.
No.
I mean, it means
I can't even remember what it
could have
was
been
now.
a tag. It could have been a tag for
We
the
liked our tagline better
Oh yeah,
than
for
we
sure.
did the name.
yeah.
For sure.
And then it was like, let's back to the drawing board. And then that second meeting, I was like
I think it was
researching
more like the
Greek,
third or fourth.
Latin, or third or fourth Latin names.
Oh,
And
oh,
I'm like,
God.
okay,
I was
let's
like,
go to
let's
the
make up a
etymology
word.
of the words.
Let's make up
one
for it.
up.
Yeah.
It's like, the heck with it. Let's just make up our own
Let's
name.
do an acronym. Like we were just like, oh.
Ditch
like-
the English. We're going to another language.
We went
Yeah,
to
we were getting desperate.
stuff in Spanish, and then it was like, no, then it's like, let me see French. No, let's do the Latin, and it was taken.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the worst part. But that's when it was like, okay, let's do the clearing.
Yeah.
Because we were trying to pretzel things,
We were
right? How
trying.
many times do we try them, and like the universe, God is telling you, no, leave that. Just walk away from it. Walk away from it. And we keep trying to pretzel things into existence. And we were in that spot. So we got so deep into the rabbit hole of pretzeling to try to keep ripple in some way that it was getting just ridiculous. And that's when I said, wait, you know what, let's just stop, because we're not gonna, we're playing, we're in a hamster, we got in a hamster wheel again.
Yes.
'Cause it's
We
so
were-
easy. We jump out of a hamster wheel and we jump into another one, right? And you think you've liberated yourself and now you're growing and you're amazing. And then all of a sudden you realize you got yourself you just switched hamster wheels.
Yeah. The other thing that you did that I just remembered when we were doing that clearing was you kind of you kind of noticed or reminded us, however you want to say it, that we were thinking small and that we were keeping ourselves small. And I felt it when that happened, I was like, ooh, like part of me was like, oh yeah, I feel that. Like, what does this mean if we change it, right? Like, there's like, I felt like, oh, big things are coming. We have a big purpose that we really want to focus on. And I felt that, and I know, like, you probably connected in with that, and I was like, okay, we feel we're playing small. Like, stop, clear it out. Let's think big. Let's think, like, be open. And then after that, we were like, okay, let's forget all the names, forget this and that, forget like what that means and the meaning behind the water and whatever else. And we really looked at like, what is similar about the three of us? Like, what brings us together and what makes it a powerful podcast with the three of us together? What is our, I don't know, connection, or what brings us all together? And
well, we did that. We did the Venn diagram, right?
Yes, the Venn diagram. And
we're like, what is the intersection? And I called it the ikigai of us.
Yeah.
Right? The ikigai is that point where you do what you love, and what is it? You do what you love, you
Never work it in your life.
pardon?
Is that what you're saying? That's saying?
Yeah, you love, like, the ikigai is loving what you do, being great at what you do, and
Doing
also
what you
getting paid for what you do.
Yes.
And then that intersection where it's like you're in your groove.
Yeah.
Right. So I thought, okay, so what is the ikigai of us?
Mhm.
Where does that intersect? That whatever Sarah says, because you deal with business, whatever Stacia says, because Stacia does all the mystical, magical stuff, and and I do all that I do like a bridge in between. I do the practical stuff, but also the way out there woo woo stuff and the sound and all that stuff. And but there's something that connects us,
Yeah.
something that we do that makes a difference, something that we do that we came here to share, something that we do that we're already in our purpose individually and growing individually, but what is it that we are bringing to the table, right? And then we started just saying words and words and words and words and words, and it's like, well, okay, who is our audience? Who do we want to talk to?
kept
And
coming
what
back
do
to
we
that,
want to tell them? And I'd like to hear Stasia's take on that part of how it happened for you.
It was really incredible because once we kind of cleared everything out, it gave us that space to really bring in what we individually, like what we all brought to the table. And then we started seeing how everybody was really similar. And from that, we were able to just start building, like, okay, I like that we're doing this. We would love to empower people with this. And so we just, we just started spouting off all of these words, and it was almost like just instantly something clicked, and we were all like, oh, and Sarah's like, let me see if it's copyrighted. And then we're searching, like, is there 55 other podcasts? No. And it was just like everything just came together, and it felt so good coming together.
Mm-hmm. It felt so right. I think you said it, Stacia. I think you were the one who, like, Hannah said something, and then you said that, and then it was like, I'm like, let me go look, and then we're like, oh my god.
Well, we just changed a word.
Yes.
Very slight change.
Right.
Because we
because
really
I had gotten a download for that word.
Yes.
Remember? I got the
Hannah
download.
got a download for a word, and we loved it, but there was something, and then you just said one little part, and it was like, we're
just changed a little bit.
We're all like, that's it.
We're like, what?
And now when I sit here, like you were talking, Hannah, I was like, I keep saying it in my mind, and I'm like, I could cry. Like, it's so big surprise though. But you know what I mean? Like, I feel so like it just feels so us and connected and what our podcast is. And I know there's so much potential there for what it's going to bring for everybody.
Yeah. And the most amazing thing is that every single name that we came up with, there were 1 million podcasts with that name. Podcasts that are dead, that are dead. And we
found 5 episodes in.
There was other weird shit that people, like, one thing you found, and it was like, I don't know, it wasn't just a podcast, it was like 5 different other things they were doing.
Oh yeah. Right.
But this has.
Yeah, and we found out stuff because we started doing research because we said, okay, we're gonna get good at this podcasting thing. So we're going to invest our energy in learning how to do this right because we want to do it right.
Yeah.
And so we did a bunch of research. We all had our
homework,
assignments. Sarah gave us assignments.
We had our assignments
and followed up. Did you do your homework?
Yes.
And I learned so much.
Yeah.
I learned that most podcasts do not survive past the 7th episode. I was shocked. I'm like, I'm glad I didn't know this beforehand. I'm so glad I didn't know that, because if we'd known that, we probably wouldn't have even started, because we were just like, in 48 hours.
Or used it as a crutch to say, well, we tried. Things are kind of weird.
And
let's,
yeah. Even the name thing, right? Like, we would have, that would have stalled us. Like, I'm so glad we did it the way that we did. Obviously now it brought us to this point for a reason, and I'm so happy, because you're absolutely right, Hannah. It would have stalled us. It would have been
trying to get perfect, trying to get the perfect name, trying to get, if we'd done the copyright and found out that Sharon Osbourne had that ripple
A
effect thing,
ripple effect.
we would have been like terrified. We
We
would
would
have
have been like,
never
we're
done
out.
it.
Okay.
But we went with that philosophy of ready, fire, aim, right? Which we practice what we preach. And we did the ready, fire, aim. We just got ready, we fired, and then we're aiming. Now we're aiming.
Yeah.
And now we're like, okay, let's figure out where we're going. And now this has happened because
Yeah.
now we're aiming. But when we started, we were just like ready, fire.
Mhm.
It was like ready, fire. And
Yes.
then, okay, now let's aim. 6 months later, right? How many episodes is that? We've done over 20.
29 we're at. So this will be, this is episode 30, I believe it'll be.
Amazing.
So, and people don't get past episode 7. And it's like, I'm glad I didn't know that, because if people tell me that, then I'll get into my head, oh, well, maybe we won't make it past episode 7. How many times did we have to reschedule because something was happening? Because we had different things happening, because we had emergencies, because we had work, because we had this, because we had that. 3 people's schedules who live.
Well, and we were in 3 different countries.
Different time zones.
Yeah. And it's like, oh my God, now Stacia and I are both in the States, but next month it's going to be back to being in different countries all over again. So we had every reason, every excuse, which I call it excuse, not really reason.
Right.
There were reasons to say, you know what, let's not continue. And something in us has been like, no, this is very right for us.
Hotel California.
That's right. It is the Hotel California. This podcast for us has been the Hotel California.
It really has.
And we're not quitting. We're just keeping on
Yes.
and making it better as we go along. And we're excited to share this new.
Oh my God.
Oh yes, I'm so excited.
And Noelle, our godmother, spent
Yes.
3.5 hours working on this new logo. And because there were some
Yay,
things that
Noelle.
needed to be perfect. And when I shared it with Stacia and Sarah, and I told Noelle, because Stacia sent the message saying, I'm speechless.
Yeah.
And
I just wanted the picture to keep looking at it. Like, where is it?
Sarah's like, can I
Wanna keep looking
get
at it.
access to it? I just want to stare at this.
Mhm.
And I told her about it, and she was like, really, Mom? And I'm like, you have no idea, honey. This is just such a wonderful feeling. And to do the work and to have, because when we did the ripple effect and when we did the logo, it just came out, and we were all like, yes, we love this one. There was no disconnect. We were all on the same page with the logo for the ripple effect. It was really lovely. And then this time it was kind of getting really weird, the name, and it was like we weren't liking it, and that's when I said, no, if we've done it before, we can do it again. So that's what was going through my mind, right? If we had this amazing start, and this is to up level, then it has to at least feel the same way it did when we started. And if it doesn't, we're going down the wrong path.
Mhm.
And that's what made me think, okay, we're getting attached.
Yes.
Right. And then it was like, we need to feel that same feeling. We need to, at the end of this, I want us to look back and say, wow,
Yeah.
that was amazing. Wow, what a process we went through. Oh my gosh, it was touch and go there for a second. We were getting so frustrated. I mean, Every time Sarah went to look at that copyright thing, I was just
Oh, it
like,
was so great.
Frustrating.
But you know,
And-
seeing
and
the new logo that she created for us, though, it was so incredible because it took this creative process that we put ourselves through. You know, we chose to get uncomfortable. We got really, really uncomfortable. We went through the gamut of what are we going to do? What are we going to name? What is this going to be? So to see that image, you know, she took that creative process and she turned it into this reality of where we're headed.
Mhm.
And that is why it was just so like, I don't even know what to say. This is
And
it.
yeah, when Sarah sent me this thing and said, I just, can I say that you added these words?
yes.
Yeah, that you added these words to this thing and created this magical thing. I was just like, what? This is brilliant. This is oh my God, like I am getting the truth bumps just talking about it. When I saw that thing, I was like, oh my gosh, I can work with that.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, I need to try and get this out of my head, what I'm picturing, and on to the paper, and then you and Noelle just took it to like a whole new level. Like it just it took it to 10 out of 10, right? So
but
yeah.
but the seed, I mean, you laid it out for us.
Right.
And when I saw that, I was like, it literally blew my mind. It blew my mind. And I was so excited. I couldn't sleep. We had an incredible process last night. We did meditation and it was amazing. And I was tired at the end of that. That was intense. And I'm like, I'm gonna go to sleep. And then all I could think of when you sent me that immediately,
I'm like, I
'cause you
couldn't
did that
wait.
right after.
Because I had
And
did
I'm
it
like,
earlier. I finished it up when you and I were talking, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna send it. I'll send it after, and then we were finished up late, and I'm like, I'll send it tomorrow. I'm like, fuck that, I'm sending it now, and I'm so happy I did because then it gave you the opportunity today to just.
well,
run with
no,
it.
last night I started working on it and
I kept you
then
up.
I just
I was
finally,
wide
I'm
awake.
like, I have to go to sleep. And
Because
then in the
I
morning,
we
I
were
just,
buzzing, but what a great like that's a great what do you call it? Like after no confirmation. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
What a great confirmation that this is it, right? It was that feeling times 1,000 of when we started. It was like, oh my
Yes.
God, I'm so excited. Like I could see in my mind what it would look like, and I could just feel us, like I can hear us saying it to everybody, and just I can feel every.
Meanwhile, I put my phone back behind my
I
bed
know,
and I was like,
where's
I need to go to
Stacia?
sleep.
Like she's normally still awake.
I'm like, not today. I've had a long,
Yeah,
long,
it was a
well, and the
powerful
process last
meditation.
night was very,
that was a
Mhm.
lot. That was
a lot. That
But-
was intense.
Yeah, so we can't wait. Like, I'm surprised none of us let the name slip.
I know. I know.
I'm like so excited. I'm so excited for a reboot
Yeah.
episode. But prior to that, next week we have a fun episode planned. We are going to be looking back at our favorite lessons that we've shared so far. What do we call it? Like kind of like a montage episode. We're going to be talking about it, almost like a commentary, looking back over the biggest
A
lessons. Retrospective. See, this is why I have these ladies. And
Gonna be a retrospective, yeah, because we're
yeah,
not taking our episodes down. I mean, you can always
but
review them because
yeah,
there's good stuff in there.
there's good stuff, and we want to point you to the good stuff and maybe add to it, highlight things, and kind of like a little send off to what the next phase will be for the podcast.
Definitely. I'm so glad that we got to come on here and share this process with everyone, so that I think it's important that we keep the old episodes and leave it the way that it is,
Yes, 100%.
because they'll see this transformation that we've made as we just, you know, jumped into this and then where we're going. I think that's just incredible.
Thank you, Stacia, for saying that. Because I think a
I
lot of
feel
people
it's like
might
a metamorphosis,
metamorph,
right? It's
and
like,
people might not like, unless if you erase that, you're not going to see that. And then not only that, like us sharing this, what we went through for the reboot. Some people see reboot, think, oh, people just changed their name and that was it, and they slapped up in it. No, like it was a process, and it wasn't done like willy-nilly. Like there was so much intention behind it. And we never stopped, because we knew, okay, we know this, we're going big here. We have a purpose for this. Because
yeah, and it's
it
proof
would have
that
been
you're,
easier to just say, okay, no, forget it.
yeah, we keep doing it like this and playing small and just see what happens. And then what happens? Nothing happens. That's what happens. Nothing happens.
Or we
Right.
get sued by Sharon Osbourne.
Or we get we don't want that.
Cease and desist. Cease and desist.
Right.
Maybe one day
Yeah.
we'll interview her.
That's right.
And we will say, hey, well, at one point, once upon a
Guess
time, we had the
what?
same podcast episode or
Guess what?
podcast name.
You'll never guess what. Yeah, and frankly, yeah, I had also agreed to leave everything there so that we can remind ourselves whence we came from, right? How it all started, where it all began. And truly, there's not one episode, maybe one, I don't even think one, perhaps bits and pieces that I would say, I could live without this one. But I feel that every episode we gave value.
Yeah.
Right. And if you listen to the episodes, and if you obviously it's not going to be value for everybody, but it's value. And if one person gets the value, like Jayanti, who listened to one episode and said, I loved it and I learned so much, thank you, that is worth it for us.
Yeah.
And so and people might look at who don't know and come new, look at the first one and then look at the second, and it's so completely different, right? There was we left no trace of the ripple effect. Not a trace from the logo that we loved. I mean, we were trying to rescue bits and pieces that we all loved.
Yeah.
Well, the concept, we love the concept of
Mhm.
creating that ripple, because that's what we do. We create a ripple that just continues out. But
now we're going deeper and bigger.
Deeper and bigger. I like it.
Yeah, because you know what? If that name had been available, we probably would have just continued and upgraded the graphics and be done. But there's also one thing that we're not, and we're not copycats.
No cookie cutter.
Right?
no.
And we're not out there doing the same thing that everybody else is doing. We don't jump on the bandwagons of, oh, this is a trend, let's jump on that bandwagon, or there's a new trend, let's jump off that bandwagon and jump on this one because this is the new trend.
No.
And we do not do that whatsoever. So it didn't feel aligned when we started learning. You know, this guy said, you should have researched the thing, and we're like, well, I'm glad we didn't.
I'm glad we didn't. I'm
Yeah, I'm
grateful
glad
for
we
their
didn't.
comments,
And I'm
because
grateful.
and for
Well, I'm glad we're open to listening.
and
Right.
open to feedback, and open and
Yes.
and Noelle, you know what I mean? Like I'm this is where it's okay to give people feedback if it's done
Well,
in
we ask for
in
it
a
too.
loving way.
We ask you to give us
We ask
feedback.
for feedback, right?
Yeah.
So there's a way to do it, and these people did it in a loving way that allowed us to really take a look and put aside our ego, even when, you know, sometimes you're like, oh, that hurts a little bit. Like, okay, fine.
Spammy page. What do you
But
mean? How dare you call us
but
spammy?
thank God. Thank God.
Yeah.
Stacia,
Yes.
I'm gonna put you on the spot because we didn't talk about quote of the day for this one.
You know what? When we started, I was like, I don't think I have a quote, and I'll be darned if I don't have one right in my lap.
No way.
Oh my
We-
God, I knew it.
Day graphic. Boom, boom, boom.
Quote of the
I
day.
don't know if we've used this one before, but it's perfect. The lady's name is Dorothy Niedermeyer, and I'm not sure if we've said this one, but life is 10% what you experience and 90% how you respond to it. That is exactly what we're telling
Oh my
our
God, it's like,
listeners.
and this is the episode.
Yeah.
This is the process we just went through.
It's literally in my notebook, and I was like, well, that's
Yeah.
kind of perfect.
It's amazing, right? We've experienced so much magic doing this. And frankly, a lot of the times I just do it for me because I have so much fun with you guys.
Me too. It doesn't
I
feel like work.
I learn,
feels
I
good.
always learn something. We have such a nice time. And yeah, I couldn't ask for better partners. I couldn't ask for,
Same. Ditto.
it's just, yeah, it's, I'm really proud to be a part of this group. And it just feels so good. It just feels so good. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I agree. I second that. And just gonna keep getting better and better.
Yes.
Yay. All right. So thank you, everybody. Stay tuned for our retrospective, right? Retrospective episode.
Yes.
There we go. Next week, and then our reboot we'll be sharing a lot about that on social media. So you can check that out. Make sure you get all the information for a reboot party. And I think that's everything, right?
Yeah,
think
that's
so.
Yes,
it.
that's everything. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and we will see you all on the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to The Ripple Effect by the Alliance with Hannah Martinez,
Stacia Stove.
And Sarah Jane Lita. We hope you're now vibing high and ready to create your own ripple.
Drop a comment or email to let us know the ripple effect that you are creating.
Music by our very own Hannah Martinez, and music production by Onel Moulet.
Follow us on Instagram at The Ripple Effect Pod for more high vibration content. Please rate and review us wherever you listen.
Until next time.